Welcome back to VL Speaks with you, a little ancient wisdom with a modern twist. How have you been this summer, huh? Yeah, it's been crazy here in the Northeast. The weather. It's amazing how challenging it can make things when you're trying to record in small spaces without the air conditioning going crazy in the background. Yeah, this week so far, beautiful, exceptional weather. Happy days. Alrighty, let's dive into episode 32, shall we? Becoming yourself. What do I mean by that? You mean like, what do you mean? I'm already here. I'm myself. I mean the deeper part of who you are, that intrinsic part of you that you may not be shining very clearly right now out into the world or even for yourself. That part of you that has that voice that speaks to you very clearly, that intuition. And sometimes we have to come in to that part of ourselves. Some people are closer than others, and God bless them. Yay for them. For those of us that had to wade through some stuff before we could get there, this is for you. You might be in the middle of it. You might be thinking, how do you get into it? I'm going to share a little bit about myself because you know that I like to share here from an empirical standpoint what I've been through and how what I've been through and what I've learned and what I've practiced and I've taught can be of benefit to you. So I'm going to go back to the beginning for me, being born a girl. And not only being born a girl, but being born a girl with some melanin in her skin. I didn't know this when I was very little, but I realized that those two things were going to be held against me to some degree growing up. And I didn't think that was the case. I thought, so what? I'm a girl. I can do whatever I want. Well, life and society and culture showed me some other things. And you know what? I didn't lose my spirit, even then. Sometimes it hurt. And I have to say that there was confusion when I was growing up. There was confusion, there was pain, there was sadness. As I came into my teens, there was rebellion, rebel with a cause, very conscious of the fact that I was being rebellious. And I also realized that I was making decisions that weren't so healthy based on the trauma that I had been through. And it wasn't just with the parents, it was also with other people that had come into the scenario that also were inflicting abuse, as it were. So there were things to work out, and what happened is that I also knew I had a lot of promise when I was younger with the arts, as far as singing, dancing, acting. Also, I was athletic, and I was also really good at science and also the arts, literature, writing, things of that nature. I couldn't really decide on anything at that point because I knew that I also wanted to be a mother and have a family. I knew that I had to work on myself as a female, a young lady, a younger woman, and now a full-fledged woman. I knew that I had to work on all of that stuff so that I can pass it on to my kids. Also, what I had to do was understand what was going on. What was this confusion about? And then how did that impact me? And who did I need to forgive? And also forgive myself. Right? And I think that that's something that we're constantly doing is forgiving ourselves and other people around us because we're all trying to figure it out, right? No one's perfect. Now, we all start off as part of a family, as part of a tribe, a community. It could be part of where you were growing up or part of a religion that you were raised in. There's so many different factors. And some of you may have had the good fortune of being raised by parents that did their work before they decided to have you, did their work on their emotional and psychological and spiritual life, and were somewhat prepared to bring in a child into the scenario so that you could have an easier time of it. Some have not. And I would say most of the people that I know have not. But I've met some well-adjusted people, and everybody's got their stuff to work on, but it's wonderful to come across those people because it gives you hope. Alrighty? So let's say though that that's not what happened to you. So now what? What if you are dealing with um, things to process? Well, I would say start sooner than later. If you see that there have been habits and traits and familial traumas that you might find yourself repeating, cut that off at the pass. If you already have those realizations, then do what you can to start focusing on other things. And it's sometimes hard. You can get sucked in because you feel like you owe it to your family or you owe it to the people that are around you to kind of stay in it with them. And it takes courage to break away and to stand on your own. Empirically speaking, from my personal experience, I know what that's like. I know what that's like. The thing of it is that no matter what, you're going to have to work on this, and there are some people that just cut ties with their family or their former community because that's what they feel is best for them. And that's their personal choice. Me, I decided that I had left and then come back to deal with each of my parents separately. And then there's also siblings, if you have siblings, you know? So there's a lot of dynamics there. I totally get it. I'm the eldest, so I've had a very interesting experience dealing with younger siblings and with the parents. But it can be done, and it happens in every type of socioeconomic background. It doesn't matter whether you're poor or if you're wealthy. I have worked in school systems with kids in after school programs and in summer programs from every economic kind of background you can imagine. What I have noticed is that sometimes it's harder to recognize problems in families where there is a lot of money because money tends to be thrown at the problem. Things tend to be thrown at the situation, not just money, but things, and handing things off. And then it's very hard to then decipher what the problems are. And those kids kind of gravitate to just like, well, give me more stuff and give me money because that's what they're being taught by their parents, right? Like this is the most important thing to their parents, so that's what they want to get from them. And some of them are able to work through it and some of them are not. I've worked with children that were toddlers to fourth grade, and I've also worked with middle school and high school. But the younger ones for me were way more fun. Why? Because they're very interested in learning, right? Everything is new. Everything is exciting. And also, I am a firm believer that when babies come into the world, it's almost like they have every possibility within them, right? I mean, of course, we're all born with more talents in one area than other. Everybody's got that. Not everybody's going to be an astronaut or a basketball player or anything like that. But when babies are born, you see all of the potentiality there. There's this truth and there's this light in them, right? And that's one of the reasons why I loved working with kids because children will start to lie when they're kind of taught to lie by the adults around them. They see things happening and they start learning these habits and ways of coping in life based on what the adults around them are doing. But they do really, children want to know that you care about them, and part of that is giving them boundaries, helping them establish disciplines, but also letting them know that you love them and you're there to support them. There was one school that I used to go to in the Lower East Side in Alphabet City, and whenever they saw me, they would start going bananas. They would start screaming, and the teacher would then start screaming, which I didn't like because there was no reason for her to be screaming. They would just get very excited because I was there, and that's a great feeling when children are happy to see you. But more importantly, it was because they knew it wasn't that I wasn't disciplined with them. I was, but I gave them guidelines. They knew that there were guidelines. They knew that I was going to hold them in space, in a safe space, but also hold them accountable in the way that you would with young children, because it's very different from how you hold middle school and high school students. So I worked with them on their physical activity, basic diet guidelines, also yoga, breathing, relaxation. I was doing this from the time that I was in my 20s into my 40s, actually, early 40s. I have to say it was some of the best teaching that I enjoyed. I worked with everyone in all age groups. But they were the most fun because everything about working with them was about hope, you know, that anything was possible, that the seeds were being planted, that I was a part of a foundational process for them to, because they see and hear everything. They may not be able to articulate what's going on particularly, but they feel it and they see it and they hear it. And so I wanted to make sure, and I'm sure you can relate to this if you have memories of growing up. I just wanted to make sure that these children that were opening up to me about their lives, what was going on at home, divorces, parent, all kinds of stuff these kids would unload. And sometimes that's what they would want to do when I would come in. They would just want to talk, which, I felt very honored that they felt safe, that they would want to talk to me about their lives and just listen to them. And sometimes they would ask me for advice, which is very sweet. But they gave me the inspiration to be a better teacher, to really show up for them so I could be an example to them about how they viewed themselves and their self-worth. And watching that happen with a child and to see that there's this bond of love that you create with them because you're giving them the gift of themselves, that reassurance. Hey, you are worth it. You are wonderful. You are smart. It's okay. I had one little boy once, his name was Joey. It was a summer program and he was acting up. And one of the assistants, I didn't hire them. These were people that were there for this camp. And they wanted to kind of, correct him. And I said, this is my class. I got it, And these were 5-year-olds. They were all 5-year-olds. And only one girl in this class, which was kind of amazing. She was adorable. She had this little baseball cap on and she was very serious. But after the class, they all sat around me. And Joey comes up to me and says, I'm sorry that I wasn't a good boy. And I said, you're not a bad boy, Joey. And he was kind of whispering in my ear because we were all sitting on the floor and he was right here in my ear. And he said, sometimes I get, my mind, I get confused. That's the word he used. And I said, I get confused too. My mind does that too. And then before you know it, all of these little voices started talking. And Joey's telling everybody about how his parents are getting divorced and what's going on with his little sister. He's 5, okay? I remember him as plain as day. And then they all start talking about what's going on in their families. Now, had I not established trust with them in the classroom, they would have not entrusted me with this information. And of course, your heart breaks a little bit when you hear these things, but then you wonder, gosh, I gave them some exercises. I hope that this gets reinforced somewhere along their lives. I hope that little tool set that I gave them, they can use that in life later. I don't know. I haven't seen these kids since then. But it's important that children have important role models and mentors, not just as children, but also as you grow up. What I found myself doing when I knew that I needed more help, I was like, well, let me look to the adults outside of my family and in the profession that I'm working in, because I got into the wellness and health industry, and I started to look around, like, who could I find to be a mentor, a teacher? So, of course, I started diving into books, different types of books on philosophy, on health and wellness. I was already into, the diet and the physical activity and all of that stuff. And I worked with special populations, so I knew about how to help people work with themselves and rehabilitate. But I realized that I needed to really do this internal work on myself as well, especially because I was working with children and I could see what they were going through. And I was working with them specifically because I had gone through stuff, and I wanted to be someone that could help children. And so as I was reading books on philosophy, Joseph Campbell was one of my first loves. Bill Moyers interviewing Joseph Campbell, and then I started to study Taoism and yoga and martial arts and reading all kinds of philosophy and books. And I did finally come upon some teachers, and they just so happened to be my clients. One of them was this woman that I've talked about before, Betty Zimmer. She just passed away, over 100 years old, 100 years and 4 months and a few days. She just passed away. She lived an incredible life, but she was one of the people that started to help me. And then as I kept moving along, I was journaling and I was visualizing and I was praying for a spiritual teacher and to find a path that was suitable to me. I was raised as a fundamental Christian, but I knew that I needed something that suited me. I was very grateful for the fact that I was learning and reading scripture, the Bible, at a very young age, but I wanted something else that was going to help me anchor in a way that resonated with my heart and mind. And those people showed up, right? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And so it happened. And what happened is that more and more I started to feel this need to be a part of the tapestry of life in a way that was helpful. And thankfully, the profession that I chose to be in, I chose it specifically because I knew I could be of service. I was thinking about going into medicine, and I studied microbiology for a couple of years, and I worked in the hospital in different departments, and I was like, this is not for me. I'm going to wind up fighting with everybody in here for the way that they're being treated. I just knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that. But when I got into the wellness industry, it was exactly the thing that I needed to do. But it was because I was listening to that part of myself, that truer part of myself, that it rang true. Like this wasn't about ego. This was about how to become a cooperative component in a society that is helpful. Now, did I master it in my 20s? No, I'm still mastering it. It took the 20s and 30s to go through getting rid of all of the stuff having to do with the family stuff and then all the other stuff that came afterwards. Failed relationships, marriage, being ill, divorce, letting go of everything. Now, everybody goes at their own pace, right? This was my path. But I'm just saying to you, it's important that you process whatever it is that is inside of you. Because if you try to bury it, it comes out sideways in passive aggressive ways and in ways that you're probably not even aware of. But that does happen. Don't think that it doesn't, because I've seen it many times. And there may be behaviors that you don't even know why you're doing it, and you may turn to, let's say, escaping. You're partying, you're doing drugs, you're drinking, getting lost in things, focusing on just making money, being famous, doing this, doing that. The longer you prolong the work, the more you compound what it is that you need to unearth to get back to who you really are. It is truth. Okay? I've observed it in people around me, in clients, in myself. I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it to be true. The sooner you start doing this work on yourself, the better off you'll be later in life. Because why would you want to be anybody else but your true self? And the thing of it is that this is a faulty foundation that you're going to be building on. And foundations like this will crack. And for some people, it turns out looking like a midlife crisis, although there are a lot of reasons behind that as well. But it's important to know who you truly are. And sometimes it jives with the family that you were born to, or society, or the culture that you were born into, and sometimes it doesn't. But what's most important is that you find out what that truth is for yourself. And you may need more professional help. You may need a therapist or some kind of counselor on the way to help you navigate things. You may need that, and there's nothing wrong with it. Ask for the help. You'll be surprised on how it comes, There are plenty of services out there. Another aspect of finding yourself is looking at who is around you. Who are you hanging out with? Do these people, can you not talk about these things with the people that are around you? Then you probably want to find yourself with people that are supportive of healthier changes that you're making for yourself. Because if you're around people that are doing what you used to do to escape, that is not going to help reinforce healthier habits. Right? And I don't want to say this to say that you should be selfish, but you should. You should. Selfishly selfish in the sense that you care about how you feel and you care about what you're doing with your life and you care about your mind. Because this is the only body that you get. All right. And if there's another lifetime, well, you still got to deal with this one. And you want to be as healthy as you can be so that you can do what you came here to do, what you were born to do. Because I do believe that that resides within each one of us. And sometimes there are multiple things that we're good at that we'd like to do. And you know what? Who's to say that you can't do as many things that you want to do? But when it comes to you connecting with that truer part of yourself, this is work that only you can do, and it is worthwhile. So think about the people that are around you and what they're doing. What are their lives like? You know? And you may need to spend more time by yourself to quiet down the chatter. Get rid of the hype. At first, it's going to feel uncomfortable. You may even feel lonely. That's okay, unless you've got really good friends that you can talk to every once in a while. But it's important to find that time to get quiet. I'm a morning person. I don't really like to talk to anybody the first few hours that I'm awake because that is the time that you can say you commune with yourself. Find that time. Carve it out for yourself. And simplify your lifestyle. Get rid of the clutter, whether it's physical, mental, whatever. Get rid of the clutter in your life as much as possible. Simplify things as much as possible. What do you really, really need? What can you just not live without that you want? I'm not saying you need to become like a monk or a nun or anything like that. I'm not saying, unless that's something that you want to do. I'm just saying get rid of the excesses in your life. Simplify it. Spend time in nature, even if it's a park, okay? Somewhere in the city, in some city, or wherever, in suburbia, wherever you may be, find a little bit of nature to be quiet in every once in a while, just to walk in. You'd be amazed at how much better you feel. And then start creating daily rituals of self-care. Episodes 1 through 4 that I started with last year, a lot of little simple tidbits in there for you. I've talked about this before in other episodes. Journal. Write down the qualities that you like about yourself. Write down what you want for yourself, your inner life, what's going to bring you peace and joy and a sense of pride about your life. And then you want to think about that relationship that you have with your mind and your body and your breath. So that's just the beginning. This is part 1 of 2. So in part 2, I will be getting a little bit more into how you can build on this groundwork that I just gave you. Okay? But just know that this work is important and you are worth it. You're worth it. And you will thank yourself for taking the time to do this work at some point down the road. Don't give up on yourself. Okay? Alrighty. Well, thanks for joining me here for episode 32. I look forward for part 2 of episode 32 as well. And take good care of yourself. Enjoy the time that you have here while you're alive. And please leave questions or make comments. Remember to be respectful of other people, including me. If I see something that's not so kosher, it's going to get deleted. Just know that. Alrighty. Thanks for stopping in. See you next time. Take good care.